All right. Yeah, today we are going to talk about the impact of habits and routines and the probability of success. And the second topic, we will talk about recovery and perseverance. Yeah, and I'm pretty pumped for the call.
Yeah, same man.
Hey
Yeah,
man, welcome.
thanks a lot. Yeah, looking forward to talking about this.
Awesome. Yeah, like let's go straight to the first question. Um, which habits have you implemented, Carlos, that help you to progress forward in your business? And like, which have you implemented that help you balance? That's also
Yeah,
a quite important one.
yeah, that's a really good question, Mitch. Yeah, with habits, I mean, everybody sort of knows what habits are. Many people define it in different ways, but I like to think about habits as little systems or routines, and for me, it's taking away thinking, right? Taking away the decision making process as much as possible, especially for things that are difficult in the beginning, like if you want to, for example, start drinking more water, because it's healthy, you know, you can argue that that's not a very difficult habit, to implement. But if you want to start waking up early, at 4 in the morning, for example, and then going outside for a run or working out early, then it starts to become more difficult, So you have to start breaking down this goal into little steps, little systems, like preparing your clothes before the night before, preparing your shoes the night before, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's, with habits. And then in terms of what's been a real game changer for me, I would say, is waking up early. You and I have talked about that. You posted on your social media how you're waking up early, and it's really a game changer. I'm sure you're going to talk about this as well. When you wake up early in the morning, you get so much time to do things. It's quiet. It
Yes.
almost feels like you're in outer space, you're in the universe. The world is still sleeping and you're awake doing what you need to do, and that's really been a game changer for me. The other thing is um, working out first thing. As before, I would work out in the afternoon. Um, But you always have to play with your schedule, right? You have to see what works, what doesn't work. And I found that one of the best things you can do when you wake up early in the morning is work out. Activate your body, activate your mind. I don't know. Have you found that? Because I know you wake up early, right? You wake up. What time do you wake up? Like 4:30,
4:25 a.m.
4:25, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, how's that been for you?
yeah. Like I do this already for a quite long
Yeah,
time, right? I'm
yeah.
waking up before 5, but 35 minutes more. It's not just a few minutes. Like, so it's also a challenge for me now again, but I'm getting used to it. And as you said, it gives you so much more time. It gives you so much more time because what you do is, I mean, you need to go to bed a little earlier, right? I mean, it makes a difference if you wake up before 5 or if you
Yeah,
sleep until 7 or 8. Of course, you will use more time in the night or in the evening for binge watching series, like TV shows.
yeah. You
And you
have to
just
take,
take this time and put it in the morning. So what you do is like exchanging some time, non-productive time to some productive time in the morning, and waking up early. Also, the workout in the morning. This shit gets me pumped up for the day. Like,
yeah,
this is awesome. Like, at the moment, it's basically like waking up at 4:25 a.m. in the morning, getting my workout done, record the two videos, like the in-person videos, and not the in-person, like me in front of the camera, those ones.
Yeah, right.
And then like straight in the ice bath. And this is
Yeah,
the magic formula that sets me up every day. Like
yeah,
it's awesome.
for sure,
Awesome.
man. Yeah, and that's like what you said about um, you waking up early. You've been doing it for a while now, but sometimes it's hard, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why it feels so good to work out early in the morning is because it's not easy to do. You know, everybody talks about, oh, discipline, discipline, discipline. You know, learn how to build habits, and all of a sudden, magically, you're gonna have it's gonna be easy. You know, it's not gonna be easy. And so when you wake up early and then you work out on top of that, you feel pumped, right? Because you've done something hard. So the rest of the day is going to be a little easier, you know, because
Yes.
you've tackled, I would argue, probably the hardest part of the day, you know, waking up super early, working out, jumping in the ice bath. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's really good.
as you say, like you made a lot of wins before most people even wake up. Like
Yeah,
you did a lot of stuff like already in the morning. And you like what I'm curious about is, my habit, like that balances me is the workout, of course, but that's in the morning.
yeah,
So what's the habit that finishes my day, that I can calm down and like have a good sleep, is
yeah,
meditation, breath work, and especially yoga nidra. That's like a
yeah,
body scanning thing. Like it's not yoga, but or I don't know, is maybe it's yoga, but you're not
yeah,
moving, like you're just lying on the floor. And that's
yeah.
awesome. Like it resets the nervous system, and that's a good technique. So what's yours? What's your go-to habit, like to calm down in the evening? Because I know you're also pretty busy. Like,
Yeah, you have to teach me that whatever you do. Is it in your videos? Is that some of the videos you do, or is that something else?
no, 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 yoga nidra. There are a lot of videos on YouTube. Like it's guided meditation. You should really give
Okay.
it. You should give it a try. Like there are pretty
Yeah.
good ones. I can send you through a few links then.
Yeah, yeah, I want to know. Yeah. I
It's
do something
awesome.
similar to you. Um, it's basically getting on the floor and stretching, you know, just
Oh yes.
really focusing on being conscious of my breath and just taking deep breaths and just feeling my body and just stretching and just trying to loosen the tight spots in my body. And I'll do that for like 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes if I have depending on how much time I have. That really resets me and calms my mind before I go to bed, because sometimes, you know, obviously we have things in our mind we go to bed with and then we can't sleep. We wake up in the middle of the night, etc., etc. Um, and one thing I do like to do, because I've struggled with this, you know, because we think like disconnecting is is so important to staying on the path, to staying consistent. Um, because we see videos out there, you know, people being, you know, doing crazy things and they're doing it day in and day out. But it's important to recharge. Disconnecting and recharging, for me, they're synonymous. You know, when you disconnect, by implication, you're resting and you're recovering and recharging for the next day. And you need to infuse positive things in your life, you know, because when you infuse positive things in your life, you increase those positive emotions, and then by increasing your positive emotions, you become a little bit more optimistic. And when you become more optimistic, you become more perseverant, you know, more resilient, more consistent. You stay on the path, right? And so you need that. And I've struggled with that a lot in terms of finding what truly disconnects me, what truly makes me feel good, you know, what truly makes me feel happy, so that when I come back the next day, I feel like I can do it again, you know? It doesn't have to be like grinding all the time, you know, like just suffering every day, you know. It doesn't have to be like that. Although, well, we can talk about that later, but that's important. You need to suffer, you need to struggle,
Yeah.
but you also need some positive emotions, you know.
Yes, and you made a good point. I mean, um, that's a good example for a gap and gain mindset, right? Because I think sometimes we get trapped in that thinking what is missing. Like,
Yeah.
what do I still need to do in order to get X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Like that, we are looking like we are focusing on how long it still takes to get there and stuff. But
Yeah.
we should really not forget to look at how far we have come already. Because if I'm looking
Mm.
at my last 2 years, like I have developed a lot. Like I think I'm a totally different person. Like honestly, like,
Yeah.
and that's something I appreciate a lot. Like I take regular like reflections on that, and
Yeah. And that's gratitude, being grateful,
yeah,
practicing gratitude, and looking at, like you said it really well, looking at how far you've come. You know, we forget, like you said, we're always looking for that next thing,
mhm,
but you have, and this goes with habits, you know, creating systems, scheduling, you know, actually scheduling a time to review your what you've done, to be grateful, to look at all the stuff you've done, and making a list of it, you know, a list of your accomplishments. You know, David Goggins calls it the cookie jar. You know, many people
yeah,
call it different things. Look at all the things that you overcame, you know, to remind yourself how far you've come, how strong you are, how resilient you are, how persevering you are. And like I was just saying earlier, it gratitude actually improves your positive feelings, your positive emotions, and by doing that, you become more optimistic, more perseverant, more resilient, right? And I think you were talking about also, yeah. So the balancing piece. I think we talked about that as well. Oh, the other thing I think you mentioned or I mentioned was the whole thing between, you know, you say, oh, life is a marathon, you know, but other people say it's also can be a sprint, you know, and um, when you're working, you know, you want to take breaks, right? So how do you take breaks when you work, right? You don't just work like 8 hours straight or 5 hours straight. You have to take breaks to kind of refocus, recharge, disconnect. You know, so we're talking about, you know, what do you do at the end of the day, but also what about during the day? You have to take little breaks here and there too, right?
yeah. So basically, if 8 hours is not exactly what I'm doing right now, I mean it's a lot
Yeah, yeah.
more,
Right.
but I try to do regular breaks. So what I do is at least five breath work sessions, 5 minutes. That's during the day, depending on how I feel, depending on the tension I feel and the anxiety or stuff. Like whatever comes my way, we know there are difficulties we need uh, to push throughout the day, like
Yeah.
express and stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but there's also before my lunch break, since I one of my habits I defined in the 365 days challenge I'm currently in
Yeah.
is 10K steps per day, and
Oh.
I'm doing half of it before the lunch break. So I go to the park. It's like I don't know 100 meters, like
Yeah.
flat. You may have seen in the videos some scenes like from the park. Yeah, and that's a good break. Like this is really like it calms me down a lot. Like it really
Yeah.
gives me the energy for the second half of the day. That's
Yeah.
one of the most common. I didn't do this before. I just started it like 1.5 months ago, and I didn't know that this is such a game changer. But being in nature, getting some sunlight, the awesome, really. I didn't
Yeah.
know that this has such an big impact on my
Yeah.
mood and energy levels and stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I used to not do that when I worked at the office, and then I decided to do it, and it's a game changer. And it's also good to think about things, when you're focused on a task at work, and it's good to stop and when for me, when I go on walks in nature or go to the park, my subconscious mind starts to work, and you start to think of ideas, and these ideas from your subconscious mind, they start to sort of bubble up into your conscious mind, and that's how you start coming up with ideas, and that's how I come up with a lot of ideas when I'm running or when I'm walking. And it's so important, to be as another way to be more creative and more innovative, just taking these walks, doing things that disconnect you, and not be concentrated all the time, so that you can actually think of good ideas and be
Yeah,
more better performing. So
I
yeah, that's good stuff, man.
totally agree with you. Like some of the best ideas have been generated during those walks. Like
Yeah,
honestly, like it's awesome. I like yeah, as I said, it's a real game changer, and I can suggest it to everyone. And like also the fitness pros also are talking about that this has a pretty good effect on fat loss. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stuff at the moment, so I don't know where it's coming from. The fat loss is it the cold baths, the
yeah,
training, the 10K steps? I have no idea, to be honest. Like it's maybe a mixture of all of that. But
yeah,
if you're going to a fitness coach, he will also or she will also tell you to do the 10K steps game first. Yeah, it has
yeah,
a big. I think it has a big effect also on fat.
yeah. It has a big effect. Yeah. Um, and then one last thing before we move on is, and I read this from, I forget his name, but he's an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
and I think this is the right guy, but he was, so David Goggins, he, a long time ago, before he was famous, he was asked by this entrepreneur to live with him for 30 days or something. It's this, I can't remember his name, but basically he says that one of the best things you can do to increase these positive emotions, this optimism, is to schedule mini adventures once a month. Where you do just something adventurous. That's outside of your normal routine. And the main purpose of doing this is to expand your perspective and put yourself somewhere outside of your current bubble, your current routine. And that is just a more maybe a more exaggerated way to gain perspective and to gain new ideas. It's kind of a like walking in nature or running, but on steroids, because you actually put yourself outside of your routine, and you really recharge, and you can see things better. You come up with ideas. And he says things like, go do things that you normally wouldn't do. And by doing these things, you just come up with different ideas, different knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Okay, that's a good point. I will
yeah.
take a note like for this.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
will take this. Like that's an awesome idea because I think I'm also sometimes trapped in my routines. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I have a pretty tight schedule, as you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I forget to schedule some things that are not within my routines. Yeah,
Yeah. Doing something different, whether it's kayaking or,
yeah,
I don't know, over there where in Austria, you do so many things.
yeah, man. Like
That's
lot.
Disneyland for me, the trails and the mountains.
You should
I
visit
would,
me. You should visit me in Vienna. Like, would be awesome.
dude, I will, man. Like,
Anytime.
I see these reels of these lodges, these cabins, and you go outside and it's just clouds and mountains, and Alps.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, that's not in Vienna, but that's yeah,
No,
that's in
not, yeah, of course, not in
Austria.
Vienna, but it's somewhere, it's like
Yeah.
in the Austrian Alps somewhere. Yeah. So the next thing, that brings us to the next point about how your emotions and how your thoughts are so relevant to building habits. Because we talked some minutes ago about how, building habits, how to build habits, knowing how to build habits, it's easy, but actually executing and acting on the more difficult habits, like waking up early in the morning, working out in the morning, doing things that are difficult. How do you make yourself do those things, and why are they difficult in the first place? They're difficult because our mind is telling us that they're difficult. Our emotions are telling us they're difficult. Our thoughts, are telling us that it's difficult. So our emotions and our thoughts, in many respects, they get in the way, of doing what we need to do to get where we want to get, right? And so how do you? What are some ways? We all have those problems. What are some ways you deal with that?
Yeah, I would talk about waking up early and the ice baths, because those two are quite good examples. I mean, when I start a new habit like those two, like those ones, I didn't I see a lot of my clients that have a big issue with starting the things. Of course, we all have it, or the procrastination game. Like, what I do is to start with a fraction. Like, I'm starting with a fraction. For example, with the ice baths, I started with 30 seconds or a minute, like, and increasing it gradually. Also, with waking up, I didn't go straight for 4:25 a.m. I started with 5:30, and then I increase it from time to time. But the thing is, it's not it's not easy every day. So you still have to develop the mindset to do the things, even if you don't want to, as you said previously. And an awesome hack was like counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the ice baths, for example. Like, I just developed this strategy to not give my mind the choice, or like, I cannot even think about how hard it is. Like, for the ice bath,
Yeah,
for example, I cannot think about it, because 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you have no chance to think, is it cold or
yeah,
not? I mean,
right.
your body knows that it's cold, but you just go in there. And all those all those hard things you are doing will also help you in the relationships, right?
Yeah,
Because you build kind of, you have a different definition of what is hard. Like,
yeah,
if you do hard stuff, the things that previously seemed hard are not hard anymore. Do you know what
yeah.
do you get my point, what I
Oh,
mean?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just get a different baseline, like, let's
Yes.
say it like this. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're about. A true progress. It's all about, like, the example you gave with ice bath. You start with 30 seconds and then you increase. So it's about first exposing yourself to discomfort
Yes.
and then gradually increasing that discomfort so that you become inoculated, or you become accustomed, you become used to that new baseline of discomfort. And so you gradually increase your discomfort. And by doing that, all the previous discomfort that you felt, it no longer becomes discomfort.
Yes.
It could be discomfort, but you can manage it. You learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. Not necessarily that you're completely comfortable in it, but you can manage you don't panic, you don't panic. You understand that you've been in this situation before. You start to take a step back and actually are able to then think about what you're going to do, and this is what I'm talking about. More kind of leads to when like, a good example is fear. When you're fearing a situation, when you have to, let's say, an example of do a presentation, for example, or public speaking. You're scared of public speaking, right? How can you take this fear of public speaking, break it down into habits, but also manage those emotions and thoughts, because like you said, even though you break down the habit, you're gonna have, how do you make yourself do it when you don't want to do it, like, because you can only break up a habit so much. For example, public speaking, the first habit could be exposing yourself or being around people who public speak, or being in a public speaking setting so you get comfortable, or being on stage and just walking around on stage. That you could develop that habit, do that every day for a month or 2 months or whatever. The other habit could be, okay, I'm going to raise my hand in class. If you're a student, I'm going to raise my hand in class. I'm going to do that once a day or once every other day. Or I'm going to participate more. You make it a habit. You do different things to start getting used to speaking in public. But there are times when you're just scared, and fear just freezes you. And so for that, you need to know that it's your thoughts, your thoughts and your emotions. So there's emotional. So there's something called ATC model, which stands for the activating event, thoughts, and consequences. So your thoughts drive the consequences. So the consequences are made up of emotions and reactions. And so what that means is there's always going to be an event that causes you to have a certain emotional reaction, certain thoughts, and those thoughts are then going to drive your emotions and the behavior, right? And so you need to find a way to manage those thoughts, those negative thoughts, because if you don't, those thoughts are then going to affect how you react, how you behave, whether you wake up in the morning or you don't wake up in the morning. So sometimes when I wake up early in the morning, I can hear the thoughts saying, just a little bit longer. You'll snooze just 10 more minutes and then you'll snooze, And then on the other side is telling me, I've learned to do this over time, where I actually speak to those thoughts and I tell those thoughts to shut up, basically,
Yeah,
So that's
man.
another strategy,
Yeah,
another emotional regulation strategy, where you stand up to your negative thoughts and you
yeah,
tell them to shut up, But yeah, so just what I wanted to say is that you need to have strategies in place to be ready to counter those negative thoughts, because if you don't, those thoughts are going to drive your actions, and it's going to cause you to not wake up in the morning, not take that ice bath, not work out, not go and develop your public speaking skills, et cetera, So,
yeah. And I think also for the waking up, like for waking up in the morning early, you need to have strong whys, like
yeah,
you need to know why you're doing it. If I would hit the snooze button, this would mean I have no time for the workout, right?
right,
I have less time to do it. Like I will have not the best start in the day, because this is what really like sets me up for the day, like one of
right,
those habits. And I know where I want to be in 1 year.
yeah,
Like I know where I want to be at, and that's why there is no way. Like I'm getting up like 4:25. That's it. I'm doing it. There is
yeah,
I'm not gonna negotiate with myself.
yes.
That's
That's so
it.
important, man. And a lot of people don't have that. Like, they understand the concept, but it's easier said than done, Like, you need to have a why. You need to
Yeah.
understand and really take some time, do it as a little project, a little goal in your life, like sitting down and actually taking the time to understand, what do you want, what's important to you, what do you value, why do you want to do all these things? Because it's fuel to waking up in the morning. It's fuel. It drives your actions, right?
Yes.
And people need help with that. People need help with that, because although they understand, oh, this is what I want to do, that's what I want to do, they get distracted. They get distracted with lack of impulse control, lack of self-control, and
Yeah.
self-control is just another way of saying they're unable to resist those temptations. They're those thoughts, those emotions telling them to go this way, to go that way. And to counter that, an effective way is to do what you do. Have a why, have a
Yes.
reason, a strong why, and schedule that. Again, habit, schedule it to review it regularly, once a week, every day if you need to, until it starts to really make sense. It's not something like, oh, I have a why, and all of a sudden it's going to work. No, you need to create systems, man. You need to create these routines. You need to organize your life a
Mhm.
little bit at a time, and you work that way, and things start to happen. But if you're just living day by day,
Yeah. I mean, it's like a mantra, right? Right?
yeah,
Like it's like really like cementing like this. I don't know if it's the correct word, but
yeah, it's a
it's
good
like
word to
you
use.
need to really manifest it, right?
Yes, yes,
And I know that a lot of people struggle with that because I'm getting a lot of DMs daily, and people ask me like how to start and do this and that. Like, and I also see an issue in overcome like the complexity, like they want to start, like do this and that and like 20 habits straight and stuff. And I said, okay, like let's try one habit for 2 weeks and see how it goes. And
yeah,
most people struggle even with that. And I'm not talking
yeah,
about brushing your teeth, like
right,
because that's a habit we learn like when we are quite like when
yeah,
we are baby kids, I would say.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's not that simple. Even like reading 10 pages a day, which would, I don't know how long it takes for most people, but let's say 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it's a quite small habit. And even this is sometimes too much because as soon as there are some struggles or there is an event or not enough time to do it, like they quit, like they quit
Yeah,
entirely, like they skip
yeah,
one day and then okay, let's try again on Monday,
yeah.
like
And it's
let's get
almost
back to
like,
work.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. It's yeah, people struggle with it, and people have to manage their expectations, and one problem that I used to have is aim too high, and try to do too many
Yes.
things at once. And you can't do that because you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment. You need to start small, and you need
Mhm.
to learn patience.
Yeah.
Impatience will kill your progress, Impatience will kill your progress, because if you don't manage and understand expectations of what progress looks like, that it's slow in the beginning, that
Mhm.
it's bumpy in the beginning, that there's some trial and error, there's trying things out, experimenting in the beginning just a little bit, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment, And so it's really important to understand that, because then because if you don't understand that, you quit and you don't want to come back to it, and you say this
Yeah.
doesn't work. And
I
then you
mean,
haven't even given it a try.
yeah, and I think it's also about disconnecting from the progress a little. Like executing, although you make little to no progress. Like
Yeah.
keep going. Also with fitness and stuff, we all know that. Like it takes some time. Like there are some peaks in the beginning where you see some progress, then suddenly like progress slows down and there are maybe months without progress, but then bam, like the progress is back. Like
Yeah.
it's really like you say, have patience
Yeah.
and trust the progress.
Yeah. You have to trust the progress.
Yeah.
I have friends who are they'll get into the habit and then they'll stop doing it, and they'll just quit. And then they I've had conversations with them. They say, I started this and I'm looking back and I wonder why I stopped doing that. And I'm kind of upset with myself that I stopped doing it. I should have kept going, And those are the moments that should really sink in, this moment of regret. You wasted time. You started something, you stop doing it, you look back and you say to yourself, man, I could be at this level right now, but I'm not, because I didn't give it the attention that it needed,
Yeah.
and that's very unfortunate. And And that can be changed, man. That can be, you can help people with that. You can do it. You don't, it's not a disease. It's not some sort
No.
of like excuses, you have to just start small and just be systematic about it, and then you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, and
So
I think it's also a skill. Like I'm always telling like if someone asks me like what is the outcome of your program, like I'm telling them like you will be able in the future to set goals and execute on them and stay consistent. You will not
yeah,
procrastinate around the taking the first step. You will know how to set the goals and how to execute.
yeah,
And it's a skill. Like
yeah,
if you can learn the skill of being disciplined and consistent with
yeah,
daily execution without focusing too much on the progress and disconnecting
yeah.
a little, that's a superpower.
He
People
has a
that
superpower.
have this skill will win in the long run.
Yeah, you'll
I'm
outlast.
100% sure about that.
Yeah, you'll outlast many people, and many people think, oh, I'm just going to create a goal and I'm just going to create some action items, some tasks,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to get to work. But people forget that it's not just a one-time task. Many things that require routine tasks that you have to do every day, every day, every day, and get better at them. And so this requires consistency. Goals are not just about checking the boxes. They're about staying consistent and doing the same things over and over again, but
Yeah.
also increasing the challenge or increasing your stress tolerance level, by
Yes.
increasing the challenge. So
100%.
yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
man.
It like was an awesome talk, man.
Yeah,
I would love to repeat this in a few weeks. Like,
yeah. Let's do
was
it
a
next
pleasure
week
to
if you
me.
want.
Sorry?
Let's do it next week if you want. If we can cut, depends on your schedule, but I can do
Yeah,
it. I
man.
have more free time now, and I can do it.
We we can do it regularly now. Like,
Yeah,
awesome. I'm
cool,
super
man.
pumped for this. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, let's stay connected and schedule the next call.
awesome, man.
Have a nice day, man. Bye.
Bye. Take care.